The 2026 Chicago White Sox are in first place in the American League Central. No, folks, it's not a joke. The White Sox have held on through the first 2 weeks in the month of June, with the big series ahead this weekend against the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers. The Chicago Cubs lost 2 out of 3 to Colorado. Can they hold forward against the San Francisco Giants by the Bay? In basketball, the NBA Finals are down to the best 2 out of 3 as the New York Knicks, with his historic proportions, made a comeback in Game 4, defeating the San Antonio Spurs by 1. Can they close out the Spurs on the road? In the Stanley Cup Finals, LaKeena's Carolina Hurricanes are 1 victory away from hoisting the Stanley Cup for only the second time in franchise history. She'll have also your World Cup update and will celebrate a special anniversary tie to the King in Chicago sports history. That and a whole lot more. It's a Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports starts now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Keep him on the field. And this one, a drive into left center field. Going back is Churio at the wall. Get out! Robert Jr., his 4th of the season. And the Sox take the lead 2-1.
Armstrong gets into another one. Sends Edman back. He's watching it land in the stands. What a night from Pete Crow Armstrong. Goes wide. Up the guard again. And he scores. What a play!
On Jordan Bennington. No chance at all for the Blues netminders. Connor Bedard. Wow.
Getting what a pass. Bruzelis with the fade on the drive.
Motions up. They're blitzing. It's picked up. Caleb throws. Middle of the field. Loveland catch. Breaks away the 30. Loveland 20. Loveland 10. Loveland end zone. Touchdown Bears.
Welcome to another fun-filled Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee Sidney. I'm Sidney Brown over here. You know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, that's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, once again, the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're not unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion, do not 2 hours extravaganza. We call our Sports Talk Radio Show. You got to hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. LaKeena will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumpos to Bill and Boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, shout out to our live gang. That's LIVE Live Entertainment Gang. That's checking us out live in the living color right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels at 12:22 p.m. Central Standard Time. But as always, much love to the replay gang that's checking us out on the replay, also at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto where we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will always provide.
We value some of the best on Second City Sports as we got a busy show coming up here as the Bears, no TAs, mandatory minicamps, I should say, have concluded, but also we got some updates about the stadium stuff as, you know, another addition to that. I know, sorry, folks. I know I warned y'all that there would be more updates to this, but we'll get to that in a bit here. Of course, sports media news as a veteran Chicago sportscaster announces not his retirement, but a career change, if you will. We celebrate a big anniversary involving the Bulls as we connect to the late, great Stacey King. Speaking of the Bulls, the current Bulls, looks like they're narrowing down their head coaching search. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about that big comeback, historic comeback for the Knicks as they try to see if they can clinch their first title since the early 70s. Tomorrow night against the Spurs. Can the Spurs rebound from that? Canes win a pivotal Game 5 last night. We'll talk about that. Can the Knights force a Game 7? the U.S. men on the soccer side, the World Cup has become, and the U.S. men will be beginning their play tonight. We'll talk about that too, and some early on stuff from the early, the first day of the World Cup. Yesterday, we'll talk baseball. Like I said, we got a loaded show for you all. But of course, we're going to kick off a little baseball, going to the South Side as the first place White Sox. Yes, I don't think a lot of people had that this early in the season. They're a half game up on Cleveland. Well, they could thank the Yankees for a little bit for that because the Yankees actually swept the Guardians. They did beat the Braves to the first two games. Unfortunately, they couldn't play last night because of the storms. If you're watching this, listen to us for the first time, clean up from those storms. Hope you guys have all stayed safe and stay safe. And I know it's been a trying time, so we'll try to lighten up the mood for you folks here in the Midwest that are going through with those storms those last few days here. But going back to the White Sox, Brady Montgomery, he just got called up. He's already making his dent on the team here, including a walk-off to kick off his first career game with the White Sox. They're gearing up for a big test against the Dodgers starting tonight over at the G-Rate. And look, I know White Sox fans. Look, I know folks are happy and such. I know you're just enjoying the ride. I know some people even said this is a team of destiny. Let's not go this far yet, folks. But look, so far the Sox have looked really good. They're getting good, decent pitching. The hitting's actually been really good for the most part. From everyone else. They did make a trade yesterday that some Sox fans are sort of like scratching their heads. We'll get to that in a little bit here. But Sid, what do you think about the White Sox as we get this far as they gear up for their series against the Dodgers tonight?
As the old say goes, the more things change, the more things stay the same. LaKeena, this team is surprising everyone, including yours truly. And so we talked about on the show that the way that the Sox are winning games this year, they're winning in multiple of ways, not just with the home run, but you mentioned that's the starting pitching. And they're winning games, LaKeena, more without using a home run than I can ever remember, especially within the last 3 or 4 years. You have different heroes coming up every night. Now, former White Sox player Derek Hill, Tristan Peters, Brady Montgomery, as you just mentioned, who just got called up, had the night of his life on Tuesday. And you have guys coming out of the bullpen like Tyler Iceberg and David Sandler, even though he got sent back down. And you have Grant Taylor, who's closing selective games. It's different guys every night contributing to this White Sox team. It's not just about Murakami, as we told you guys that this team would still score runs while he's been out, and you've been seeing that thus far. It's not just about Colson Montgomery, who's currently injured. Hopefully he's back this weekend against the Dodgers. It's not just about Miguel Vargas, who could be knocking on the door for an all-star bid. It's other guys like Sam Antonucci, Chase Maidrop, and yes, Ronald Acuña Jr. too. Unfortunately, can't lay down a bunt. We'll get to that in a second. But despite that, it's different guys coming through every night. And this team believes in one another. They're playing together. Even though you're not going to win every ball game, they're playing like they have the belief that they can come back and win any ball game. And it starts out with your manager, Will Venable.
Yeah, I think that's really been the key here. And I think he's been finally getting the set that he's been wanting to put together and getting the players that he wants, and that's fine. It's been working, but I've been warning Sox fans about this, and let's not count our chickens. Let's not give them the crown yet. This is still June 12th, and a lot can happen between now and the All-Star break and between now and the trade deadline. We saw this happen with Detroit. They had that big lead, and then they did lose a lead to the Guardians last year. They almost, even missed making the playoffs. So I would say, look, enjoy the ride. Take it one series at a time. We're going to be facing the Dodgers team. They may not have to face Shohei. I know he injured his knee last night as they took their series against the Pirates, but it's just one of those days where you just don't know what's going to happen in this next month or two. I know people want to say that, like I said, team of destiny and this and that. Look, we've seen the ebbs and flows of the baseball season, so I know the league's on notice now. Can this team stay within it now that people are noticing that they can't sneak up on folks anymore? So there are folks that are noticing them. So how will this team handle the pressure of now being the hunted now? So this is going to be this series. I don't say it's going to be a make or break of what happens, but even if they lose the series to the Dodgers, but it's one of those things where let's see how this team does against the Dodgers and the rest of the month, because it doesn't get any easier for this White Sox squad. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKeena kicking in with you, talking about the 2026 Chicago White Sox, currently a half-game lead in first place in the American League Central over the Cleveland Guardians. I know the HO question is, how long will it last? I don't know, but you brought up the surprising element. Let's be real. Yours truly thought that they would take 1 or 3 from the Atlanta Braves. They end up sweeping them in a short 2-game series. Early in the year, go out to San Diego. Oh, they're going to get swept or barely win 1 out of 3. Hey, they took 2 out of 3. Oh, it's the Cubs. We should bury them. Oh, they're going to get buried. And where the Cubs were hot at the time, the Cubs, they end up beating the Cubs 2 out of 3, including that dramatic home run in that series finale on that lovely Sunday afternoon in May by Edgar Carroll. So, yes, the Sox have had their laps too. Absolutely, losing 2-3 on the road to the Giants. You saw what happened last weekend in Philadelphia, and we saw what happened last week at this time at Minnesota. But the big element of the season is, you said it's a surprise factor. What's next? No one expected them to win two games in that series against the Braves, and you beat Chris Sale fair-handedly against your best pitcher in Davis Martin. Something special is going on here. But like you said, what's going to happen with this Dodgers series this weekend? Ohtani or no Ohtani? We'll see what happens. But the surprise element is here, and as a fan, I cannot wait. Now, am I going to hand them the division title right now? No, because we have a long way to go. But the surprise element has been a big factor all season long, and I'm sure it's going to continue on the South Side this weekend.
Going to be very interested to see what happens here. And like I said, it doesn't get any easier for the White Sox even after the series against the Dodgers. They faced the Yankees team that actually been playing pretty well without Aaron Judge. Then you've got Detroit. They seem to be playing on the upswing. Skubal's going to be back tomorrow. We'll talk about that after the break. Then you've got Cleveland. Okay, you got Cleveland June 22nd. Then you've got Kansas City, Baltimore, and you got Cleveland again on July 4th weekend. Then you've got Boston, and then you've got the A's to finish up your first half. So, like I said, a lot could happen between now. Yeah, look, could they surprise some folks and win again? Sure. But also, could they perhaps maybe lose 8 out of 10? They haven't had, I guess, this early in the season. So I don't want White Sox fans to get all pissed if when that does happen. So, because this is the ebbs and flows of the baseball season. It's going to happen. Look, even the Dodgers have had their little hiccups here and there in the last few years. So enjoy the ride. I would implore White Sox to take it one series at a time. You can't, look, I'm sure you're going to get some all-stars. You got Anthony Kay against Roki Sasaki. That's tonight's matchup over at G-Rate. Then you've got Sean Burke against Shuto Yamamoto. That should be an interesting matchup there. And of course, you've got Eric Fetty against Emmett Sheehan to finish up the series. I don't think they're going to get swept. I think, especially with the weather, it's going to be a little bit cooler. It's going to be in the 70s, so it's going to be near 70, I believe, tonight. I think tomorrow. So we'll see how these bats give. But I think they can win one game. I'll give them one, but I think the Dodgers will sweep them. I know some people say, well, the Dodgers might not care or whatever. They might, but I wouldn't go that far. So I think they'll win one game, but I think the Dodgers are going to take the series.
A couple things to wrap up here. Check during the break. I believe Sunday's game is going to be simulcasted on WCIU, but I believe we'll check that during the break. But just to give a wrap up here on the White Sox, as I said at the beginning of the month, long as they can stay at 500 or above by the end of the month, when you get Kyle Teal back and we get Munetaka Murakami back, this team will be in prime position to compete for the playoffs. And Chris Getz, I know he spoke to the media yesterday, saying that they're going to look at boosting up the pitching in the bullpen. It's a long ways away, but we'll see what happens with that. And 2 thumbs up, if you can see it here, LaKeena. 2 thumbs up to CHSN's Tuesday night broadcast, the 80s theme broadcast. Bob Costas and Steve Stone, both of them sounded great together. Of course, the telecast ended in style with the Braden Montgomery walk-off home run for his first MLB career home run. 80s graphics and great storytelling. They couldn't get to all of it because, as Bob Costas said, they thought that, let's be real, they thought that the Sox were going to get killed. It looked like that was going to happen early when they trailed 4-0, but the Sox battled back, which made the broadcast that much more interesting. I wanted you to give us your quick synopsis on the 80s theme broadcast.
For what I saw for the highlights, I thought it was okay. I mean, look, I think it kind of remind me of those early 80s White Sox teams with the graphics and stuff, but I thought it was fun. I know some people. Yeah, I mean, I know some folks like, well, look, it was kind of mundane how Bob Costas, call it. It's not his home team, so yeah, of course,
Hmm.
this is how he usually says it. So I thought I give it like a solid 8.5. I mean, like I said, like I said, I had to watch the highlights, but I thought it was a fine broadcast.
Yeah, like you said, Bob Costas is a national broadcaster, not a home team broadcaster. So, yeah, I would give it a A minus B plus. I think the Sox should do this again. Maybe they'll do it again. Hopefully, in the second half of the year. Now they should do it again next year. But as you mentioned, this is going to be an exciting series between the White Sox and the Dodgers this weekend on the South Side. I know tomorrow's game is a sellout for sure. I know there are a few tickets available for tonight's game, Friday's game. And I think Sunday's game is close to a sellout as well. Yours truly will be there. Of course, I'll be there tomorrow for the Whiskey Kaminsky Taildeck Gate in Lot B in Sox Park. That starts at noon tomorrow. So come one, come all tomorrow. It should be an exciting time down on the South Side starting tonight.
We'll take a really quick break. Of course, the Cubs were able to salvage a game in Colorado. We'll see if they can take advantage of the Giants having a bad week. Also, too, we'll have some updates if there is any updates on the Shohei's injury. The Yankees are playing pretty well without Mr. Judge, and so much more. We'll talk the rest of baseball. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. More Diamond Talk coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you live this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey Maggette, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Hashtag Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports. You're a lot to load. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena McGee, follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and on the IG.
As we continue our baseball talk with Cubs and Sox and everything else in between in Major League Baseball from this past week, if you have any questions regarding the subject of baseball, you can definitely hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up in the screen for you.
Cubs salvage a game in Denver, or just outside Denver, as Seiya Suzuki's only his fourth career Grand Slam. Alex Bregman 2-run home run also that helped power the Cubs over the Rockies 9-3 to avoid the sweep. They probably should have won 2 out of 3, but unfortunately in Wednesday's game, Webb gave up. The bullpen kind of killed them with that game, but unfortunately, they do salvage a win in just like I said, in Colorado. They do face the Giants starting tonight in the Bay Area. They just saw the Giants not too long ago, so hopefully, look, they got the Giants are coming off a high. They had a big comeback. We'll talk about that in a second here against Nationals. They did lose that series though, so hopefully the Cubs could use this to kind of take advantage of that schedule that they had. Hopefully it can turn around a little bit. I'm not one of those folks that think that the Cubs should just blow up everything, fire Craig Counsell. That Craig Counsell is not going to help, especially when the players aren't hitting like they're supposed to. Bregman finally will. Hopefully this is the Bregman that get paid all that money for. Hap has been hitting the ball like really the main consistent guy for the offense as well as PCA. The pitching has not been where it's at. I think that's really been the problem for the Cubs is the pitching. So we'll see if they can perhaps maybe salvage if they could just win the series against San Francisco. I don't think they'll be able to sweep them, but if they can win this game out tonight, and also even the series against the Giants, get a little payback for what happened in last weekend. And we'll see. Got Javier Assad versus Landon Rupp. That should be. We'll see if Assad was been a godsend for the pitchers. I hope we can keep it up. Ben Brown, who's really been like the ace of the Cubs so far. He faces Trevor McDonald. We'll see if he can keep up. Brown keep up his the way he's been pitching lately. And Colin Ray will face Logan Webb to finish up that series. So I think if the Cubs can win 2 out of 3 here. I know that place out there has been Oracle Park has been a house of horrors for the Cubs in recent years, but hopefully they can turn that around starting tonight.
Just to preview this a little bit for the San Francisco series, Landon Rupp pitched an outstanding game against Ben Brown last Saturday at their friendly confines before the Giants bullpen decided to give it away to PCA and Michael Busch, but it's going to be tough. But Javier Assad on the flip side, LaKeena, he pitched well in relief last Sunday night in that series finale loss against the Giants. So there's going to be a good pitching matchup there. I think that the one on Sunday, which I think is going to be on national television, yes, that's going to be on ABC. Logan Webb, he's the best pitcher they have on their staff. It's going to be tough. Colin Ray, I know the Cubs asked him to do a lot as well next to Javier's side. That's going to be a tough one. So I can see the Cubs definitely losing that one. But like you said, if the offense carries that momentum, what they did yesterday, they should take 2 out of 3 against the San Francisco Giants by the Bay. Now back to the series against Colorado. What happened the first 2 games? It's inexcusable against one of the worst, if not the worst team in baseball. Even though technically Colorado improved, still they're one of the worst teams in baseball. And for the Cubs offense to play like that, especially offensively, the way they did, excuse me, that's inexcusable. And then last Wednesday's game, I should say, that with that walk off by Colorado, it's just uncalled for. But as you mentioned, the bats woke up yesterday with 3 home runs, including that grand slam by Seiya Suzuki. Hopefully he's starting to turn around. Carson Kelly chipped in with the home run. You mentioned about Alex Bregman. Hopefully they'll get him going because he's been a huge disappointment this year. I know he was a free agent signing in the offseason. I know he's that veteran presence in the locker room, but he needs to show that with his production, with his bat. Hopefully they can get him going. Shout out Edward Cabrera as well. You mentioned about starting pitching. His last 3-4 starts have not gone the way he's playing it, despite the blister. But yesterday, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 2 walks to 5 strikeouts, giving up five hits and 2 earned runs. We expect, if you're a customer, you expect more from him. But given his last 3 or 4 starts that had not gone well, you'll take this performance yesterday, backed up by the office that which finally showed up to play in the Rocky Mountains.
Now, after the series against the Giants, they do get the Rockies again at Wrigley. So hopefully they can kind of get that give back for losing that series, salvaging one. Then they have Toronto. They come here to Chicago. Then you've got the Mets. So, and yeah, against the Mets at Citi Field. So hopefully, and then you have that those 3 games after that against Milwaukee. We'll get to the Milwaukee in a bit here, but it's one of those days where the coach should be able to hopefully finally they can stack those wins as we thought they would in this situation. Hopefully they can kind of get going and turn things around now. I think they're 7.5 back. I know that seems like a lot, but I don't think that you can't really give Milwaukee the division just yet. You saw what happened in their last couple of games. We'll get to that in a second. So I'm not. Look, hope, like I said, the games are starting. You can't say it's early anymore. We're about halfway through the season now. So you're about 20 games away from it being halfway, or maybe 15 games. You're less than that, about 15 games, 15 to 18 games, depending on how you look at it. So they need to turn around quick.
Yeah, just start winning series, continue to play good baseball, continue to support your good starting pitching. Their bullpen, as we mentioned, it needs to improve, but it all starts offensively with this team and the way they performed finally against the Rockies yesterday. Hope they could carry that into this weekend series against San Francisco. And you mentioned about some of the other teams on their schedule coming up. Toronto's been struggling to get at 500 all year. The Mets are dead. We'll talk about them in just a second. And like we've been saying as well, the Milwaukee Brewers, don't worry about them. Just keep winning series. They're going to do what they're going to do. If you could just keep winning series, just keep being consistent going up, you'll find yourself right back in the race.
Now, speaking of the Giants, they did come back. Kind of an interesting series in the last game, and that actually, unfortunately, ended up being their only win in that series against the Nationals. They score 10 runs in the 8th and the 9th inning to come back and beat the Nationals to win that series 11-10. Thanks to also Matt Chapman. I'll get to Chapman's stats here in a second, but also it was actually Bryce Eldridge's grand slam that helped propelled the Giants to that win over the Nationals to at least salvage a game in that series. So kind of up and down. So there's no reason why that you shouldn't be able to. The coach should at least win. Not maybe sweeping maybe a little bit too much gas, but they should be able to win that series against the Giants. Now Matt Chapman, who I won as a Cub a couple of years ago, but that's different. But I'm not going to talk about that. He has reached base 20 times and driven in 16 runs over his last 7 games. The last player to do that for the Giants, over that span was not a bad guy to share it with. Willie Mays, who did it back in 1958. So not bad company for Mr.
Say,
Chapman.
hey, kid.
Yep. So yeah, not bad company for Mr. Chapman to join with that stat. Now staying in the West, you'll talk about the aforementioned Dodgers. They did win 2 out of 3 in Pittsburgh. Ohtani did home run. He did leave the game with knee inflammation. The Dodgers have been very quiet. Now he may or may not win. He may or may not play in one of those games against the White Sox. We'll see if that happens. But at least look, the Dodgers are doing their thing, especially with a lot of guys. So I know Will Smith is now out with neck inflammation, and so it was another injury. But despite all those injuries, the guys from the Dodgers, look, we see what Tyler Callahan has done, and a few other guys. So of course Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, of course the old stalwarts, and they actually they erupt against Paul Schemes on Monday. So the Dodgers, even despite all the injuries, they've been playing pretty solid.
Yeah, I was going to mention that series opening game from Tuesday. Yeah, Paul Schemes was shutting them down. Then after he left, the Dodgers' bats exploded. So, as you mentioned, when it's a next man up mentality, when one guy goes down, the next person is expected to step up. The Dodgers have a mix of veterans and young guys that all come together, led by Dave Robertson, And one thing they are expected to do is to do their job. Don't do anything too much out of your job description. They play together as a team. They'll win ball games. And shout out to Andy Pias as well. He's having a career year both with the glove and at the plate.
Let's see how he does against the White Sox coming up this weekend. Now, the Padres, they actually won a series beating Cincy. I mean, just, you thought that maybe the Padres might have figured things out. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I don't know. But yeah, that's interesting to see what happens there. Meanwhile, the Diamondbacks, who, look, we thought that they were on the up and up, but last couple of weeks they haven't been very good. Of course, they lost their series against the Nationals last weekend, and then they got swept by Miami. So just when you thought that maybe the Diamondbacks could probably make it go down for that division, well, they got swept against Miami.
Yeah, the Marlins are closer to 500 at this point in the year. No one expected that. I know they had a surprise. They were one of the surprise teams a couple years ago with 79 wins, but you still have Owen Casey there. You still have a couple of young prospects making an impact right now for the Miami Marlins, I should say. But like you mentioned, the Diamondbacks, they're too talented to be swept by that Marlins team. What is to go from here for both these clubs? I don't know, but like I said, it's just one of those funny things that happens in baseball. Just thinking that you're about to take off. Oh, we look at the Marlins on the schedule. We should be able to sweep them.
Now, staying in that National League East, like I said, the Nationals, winning 2 out of 3 against the Giants. We'll see. I mean, they've been another one of the surprise teams so far in baseball. The Phillies, they won 2 out of 3 against Toronto in Toronto. I guess they got a little bit of a revenge from that the '93 World Series. Now, like I said earlier, they did acquire White Sox center fielder Derek Hill. So that brushes up that outfield. I know some White Sox fans are not very happy that he got traded because he's been one of the unsung heroes for the White Sox so far, but. If you're the Phillies, you did get a game on Atlanta with that two-game sweep you will against the White Sox. So we'll see if the Phillies can gain a little bit more ground.
Yeah, Adolis Garcia is out there, right fielder, the former Texas Ranger who they signed in the offseason. Derek Hill, as you mentioned, acquired via trade from the White Sox. He gives them the outfield depth that this Phillies team needs. But we talked about Philadelphia after the firing of Robbie Thompson over 2 months ago. Don Manley takes over, and suddenly this team takes off. We know about the bets in Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, and Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, but is that pitching has been getting it done all year, led by Christopher Sanchez. Him and Jacob Mizorowski of Milwaukee, those are the top 2 candidates, in my opinion, for the NL Cy Young Award right now.
Yes, he really is. So we'll see if he can keep it up. Now, going to the American League here, staying out west. Like I said, no one's going to run away from that division. And unfortunately, the Mariners didn't have a good week. They split their 4-gamer in Baltimore. So, yeah, that wasn't – so they said Pete Alonso and Ali Rosman 3 RBIs apiece. Alonso's home run and his Rossman's 3 RBIs that helped the Orioles sweep the Mariners, and I mean not sweep the Mariners, but win the split their series against Baltimore. We'll talk about Baltimore in a second, but the Mariners not sort of a meh week this week, but you got Texas. Texas is right there. Also, the A's they're showing that maybe they may be able to stay with those 2 teams in that division. So the AL West is going to get very interesting.
Yeah, the Rangers took care of business, beating the Royals on the road 2 out of 3. As you mentioned, Seattle, very disappointing, splitting that series with Baltimore in 4 games. And like you said, we talked about the Oakland Athletics, as we call them on this show. They're one of the surprise teams to start the year, but they gave it to the Brewers, especially in that series finale, beating the Brewers by the score of 4-3. And it was some other entertaining games in that series as well. The Athletics won the second game of that series, 7-5. Of course, we all know about the football score. I'm not going to call it the LaKeena McGee special, but for baseball terms, it is. The Brewers won that opening game of that series, 15-14. If you had the over in that one, you really definitely won some money. But the A's are showing signs against the Milwaukee Brewers. They showed up and show out, taking 2 out of 3, from the division NL division Central Division leaders. So, like we said before, we'll say it again. It takes a team in that division to have a good 2-3 week stretch of hot baseball, and whoever does that first, it'll be a team that's going to win the division. I'm not counting Houston in this because they're injured and they're too young and inexperienced. So, but those other 3 teams with the Athletics, the Rangers, who are really waiting for them to get it going, or the favorite Mariners, whoever gets on that hot streak for a good 2-3 week stretch, in my opinion, is going to win this division.
Yeah, give the A's credit though, because one team, if you lose a game like that, you were right there back and forth. The Brewers just did a little bit more to outlast them, but they came back and won the next 2, won the series. So yeah, so he gave the A's all the credit in the world for being able to come back and win that series against the Brewers. Now going to the Central, like I said, you can White Sox fans can thank the Guardians for losing to the Yankees. That's why you're in first place right now. They've actually been a little bit in a little bit of I don't want to say free fall, but I'm not gonna count the Guardians out. You can't. They're just having a little bit of a slump right now. They do face the Tigers. We'll get to the Tigers and their upswing and maybe a Tariq Skubal on tomorrow. But yeah, I'm not counting the Guardians out here.
They're the most talented team, or at least on paper, in the American League Central. Their pitching staff, from their starting staff until their bullpen, is very good. So when you have those 2 elements backed up by an offense that's good enough to compete against anybody. Remember, they were in the American League Championship Series a couple of years ago, so they're not that far removed. So you have a strong starting staff in a good bullpen. That's all. They're always going to be in games. So. And the White Sox, they got to sure up there. Will they do that between the trade deadline? Well, it's far down the road. We'll see about that. But going back to the Yankees, LaKeena, rookie outfielder Spencer Jones hit his first career home run the other day in that series, part of that 3-game sweep of the Guardians. You mentioned about Judge being out, but you still Giancarlo Stanton is near his time of rejoining the team for the first time this year. You still have Ben Rice, Anthony Volpe still got to show up that glove. You got to work on that. Trent Grisham's having a good year. Cody Bellinger is starting to swing the stick as well. You got veteran Paul Goldschmidt in that lineup as well. So, as we talked about before, in short-term fashion, I think the short-term without Aaron Judge, they're going to be okay. But in the long term, if Aaron Judge is out past the All-Star break, if he starts getting deep into the second half of the year, there's going to be some problems there.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with them. And now going back to the Central here, the Guardians win 2 out of 3 against Minnesota. They hit 6 home runs yesterday. They led by Spencer Torkelson, who hit one of those 6 home runs. They routed Minnesota 11-0 to finish up and getting the rematch of that series and winning that series. Skubal will be back tomorrow in their series against the Guardians. So they're only 8 games back. I'm talking about the Tigers. They're starting to get some, not all the guys, but they're starting to get some of their guys healthy. So could I see them perhaps maybe, make a little bit of a go at it? We'll see. I mean, like I said, a lot can happen between now and the All-Star break. So I'm not counting Detroit out just yet.
I'm still trying to find those loose bodies from his elbow. Have you found it yet? But on the serious note, we talked about the Detroit Tigers. Their offense has been hot and cold lately. Of course, Javi Baez is still injured, but you still have Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, Kevin McGonigal, the rookie third baseman, who's a candidate for Rookie of the Year. They do have talent, but it just haven't been put all together. I know they've been really hit by the injury bug. You still have Framber Valdez, the star left-hander who they signed in the offseason just in case the Skubal got hurt, which is the case now. So they do have talent. It's just for them putting it all together. Now, in Detroit, and when Skubal comes back, assuming that Skubal doesn't get hurt between now and the trade deadline, if Detroit doesn't take off like we think they can, look for him to be on that trade market. So this start tomorrow night is going to be very important for a whole lot more reasons than that is shown on this that will be shown on the surface.
Yep. So gonna be interesting to see these next few weeks when he does come back tomorrow. Now going back to the AL East, Tampa swept the Boston Red Sox. You probably say that's all that they wrote for all she wrote for the Red Sox here. So they've lost 4 in a row since. But Tampa, to their credit, though, they've been able to kind of stick with the Yankees They're tied right now, especially after losing their series to the Marlins earlier this week. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the Rays do. They're probably going to be able to. They're not going to do anything. We'll see if these young guys for the Rays, can they keep up with the big strong Yankees?
Yeah, you should say what I need to say about this whole division, in particular the Red Sox. I'll just say this: Aroldis Chapman, the closer, could he be coming back to Chicago? We'll see, but he's back on the clock, and if you're the Red Sox, you should put him out on the trade market to see what you're going to get. Because what teams need, especially at this time of year, going to the dog days of summer, is great starting pitching and a great closer, the great bullpen arm. And Aroldis Chapman should be on the top of the list going to the trade deadline, which we still less than two months away. But Aroldis Chapman, you're on the trade block, brother.
How certain people, well, I ain't gonna say nothing, but how certain people will feel about that if he does it. Especially the White Sox are still going to be in it by then. I don't know if certain people may not be very happy with that, but we'll have to wait and see here as we go into the schedule for this weekend in baseball. You got Miami. Speaking of Miami, they face Pittsburgh. That should be a interesting series there. Seattle. They continue their East Coast trip against the Nationals. San Diego and Baltimore as they continue their East Coast trip as well. Detroit and Cleveland. Like I said, Scooble makes his return tomorrow against Joey Cantillo on Saturday. That should be interesting to see what happens with that. Texas and Boston. Arizona and Cincy. That's going to be the first game of the Apple TV regional coverage. Followed, also Atlanta and the Mets. So you get sort of like a regional sort of type of thing, like they did back in the day with the football coverage. But so we'll get to that in a second. But the Yankees and Toronto also, they start their series tonight.
All right, the rest of your series schedule for this weekend: the Dodgers will come to the South Side to face the White Sox. Philadelphia will head to Milwaukee to face the Brewers. The Houston Astros, shout out to our guy Brendan Schutz in the chat. Your Astros will face the Kansas City Royals. St. Louis will visit Minnesota. The rematch of the 87 World Series. Well, I got to watch some old highlights from that classic series from back in the day. RIPs to Chicago's very own Kirby Puckett. If you don't know why, go look at the highlights on YouTube. Tampa Bay will visit Los Angeles to take on the Angels. Colorado will visit the Oakland Athletics in Sacramento. And, of course, LaKeena's Chicago Cubs will conclude their West Coast road trip with a visit to the San Francisco Giants by the Bay.
Your TV coverage, remember, no Fox Saturday baseball because of World Cup matches. But you do get an FS1 game tomorrow night. Philadelphia and Milwaukee. That'll be at 6:10. Your Peacock and NBC games, you got Miami and Pittsburgh. And your ABC, especially ABC afternoon baseball from way back in the 70s and 80s, if you guys want to go back to watch some of those games. You got the Cubs and the Giants. Also, your NBC and Peacock game of the night, Sunday night game of the night will be Texas and the Red Sox, and that is your schedule for this weekend in MLB.
Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 rolls on following this timeout right here on Second City Sports on Chicago. The NBA Finals could be over by tomorrow night. The New York Knicks had an epic comeback for historic proportions. We'll get into that. Can the Spurs save their season? The Stanley Cup Final. Carolina is 150 away for hosting that cup for the second time in franchise history. The World Cup Soccer Update. The Stacey King tribute from Bulls.com, and the special anniversary regarding the Chicago Bulls. That and a whole lot more. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena, and you're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot.
and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone's somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on a heavy funk edition. You're locked loaded. We're live. We call it right here on Sports Zone Chicago. See, the kid is me. LaKeena McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID0. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, once again, the IG.
We're going to kick off on number 2, discussing the NBA Finals between the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs. Excuse me. For this half hour, so if you have any questions or comments regarding that series and regarding the historic comeback from Game 4's performance from New York the other night, you can hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. LaKeena will get the up of the screen for you.
Talking about that big comeback, Knicks came back from 29 points down to beat the Spurs, just 107-106. It was basically, if you watch the game, it was kind of pandemonium here. I guess the tale of two halves would be an understatement. Spurs are hitting their threes, and the Knicks were blaming certain people. I won't talk about that. But then I guess you could say that this was the Wu-Tang Clan game they performed at halftime. I guess that started kind of the momentum for the Knicks here as OG Anunoby came from behind after a Brunson miss, got the game-winning tip-in, if you will. He's finished up with 33 points. Brunson had 36. Cat had 13, but he had to make some big, defensive rebounds. Had 8 defensive rebounds on a couple of key blocks late in that game. Mitch Robinson had a couple of key blocks in that game as well. So this is one of those things where I know folks are talking about that they're still talking about it because they don't play game 5 until tomorrow night. But so what did you think? I mean, this is definitely up there with, we have not seen anything like this before in finals history. So if you're the Spurs, the best you can do is try to get that game out of your mind. You're going to be back home now. Unfortunately, now you're going to be kind of like your backs are against the wall because I'm sure you don't want the Knicks to celebrate your home floor. So we'll get to how to the Spurs can rebound here. But so what do you think about that epic comeback by the Knicks?
Shout out to that crowd there, MSG. They were lively and they were behind their hometown guys in that second half. But you mentioned that it was a tale of two halves. That was an understatement. Oh, you're correct. Because the Spurs, referencing back to Game 3, first of all, from what happened on Monday, the Spurs came in there, took the bull by the horns, and they won Game 3 fair and square. They carried the momentum to the first half of Game 4 the other night. Victor Wembanyama actually got the ball in the post to start the game, even though he shot the ball terribly overall from three-point range. But they got Karl Anthony Towns in foul trouble. It was very physical game once again. San Antonio was setting that tone. They set that tone in Game 3, but they did it again in Game 4. But the Knicks came back with the biggest punch of all, no pun intended. But that second half, LaKeena, people may blame the series prior against Oklahoma City of being fatigued and putting all the energy into winning that series. But let's be real. The New York Knicks outplayed the San Antonio Spurs in that second half. San Antonio started committing dumb fouls, and that flagrant foul on Victor Wembanyama to start the second half, in my opinion, besides the Wu-Tang Clan performing at halftime, that's what started that momentum right there for the Knicks. The Knicks started to make their shots. They started to get active defensively. San Antonio just got lazy, especially on the offensive end, taking dumb shots, not milking the clock down. De'Aaron Fox, have a couple of big mistakes. I noticed that they started to throw the ball into the post to Wembanyama in that fourth quarter, but that Knicks defense they were set and ready to go, triple team him, double team him. They took the ball away and scored on the other end. So it was a collapse of epic proportions. Did the Knicks earn their win? Absolutely, but you got to give a lot of blame not only to head coach Mitch Johnson of the Spurs, but to the Spurs players as well. I'll get to Mitch Johnson. The biggest mistake he made is just a moment, but there's enough blame pie to go around between the coaching staff and the players for the Spurs with that epic collapse at MSG the other night.
Yeah, I mean, De'Aaron Fox, what was he doing? Like, you still had the lead. He should have just, took the ball out. The Knicks had a foul to give, so just, let him foul you, and then maybe perhaps you try to run the ball out again. And if they committed if you committed a turnover, that's fine. But you basically just gave him another chance to win and trying to be, because you could tell he was doing too much, especially after blowing that 29-point lead the Spurs did. So he was trying to be the hero, and unfortunately it backfired. So yeah, that was just a terrible thing here. But yeah, like I said, I think this is one of those games where you give Knicks all the credit for coming back and winning, but also too, the Spurs were very smart with some of their, like you said, with some of the dumb fouls and some of the bad shots, not running the clock out and then whatnot. So yeah, Mitch Johnson, unfortunately, I'm sure his mentor Pop, Greg Popovich, I'm sure he gave him a nice little talking to after that game. And even though he hasn't been the best health the last few years, I'm sure he must up the straight to do all that, but to kind of give him a couple of swear words here and there to him. But if you're the Spurs, going into this game tomorrow, you've had a couple of extra days to stew on it. You gotta, prospects say it was going to be loud, and that they're gonna want to get the Spurs to try to extend the series. So you gotta you gotta get this game out of your mind. I know you're sick of folks talking about. I'm sure you probably had to turn off your TV or social media or what have you to get folks to talk about it. Yeah. Guys like Stephen Castle, who could have stepped up a little bit more in that game on Wednesday. Dylan Harper did his thing, but he could do a little bit more too. Keldon Johnson, only 2 points in 18 minutes. Where were you? Where was the rest of you? Julian Champagne, you could do a little bit more as well. Carter Bryant, Luke Cornett. The supporting players for the Spurs have to step up, because if not, the Knicks might be celebrating their first title since 1973 on your home court, and that's something that you do not want.
I'll get to Mitch Johnson now, and I'll give you the keys to game number 5 in a minute. But to Mitch Johnson, who I put the biggest blame on, LaKeena, I'll give a couple of references for a history lesson. Are you ready?
Mhm.
Remember Game 5, Bulls Cavaliers 1989, the Michael Jordan the shot over Elo. Remember the previous two plays, Michael Jordan's original shot. He gave Craig Elo the elbow in the jaw. He made the shot. The Bulls go up by 1. Do you remember what happened on the next play?
I forgot who made that shot for Cleveland. I'm trying to remember who was it Doherty? Brad Doherty who made no, it wasn't
No.
Doherty.
I'll give you one more guess.
Damn it. Shoot. I know it wasn't Mark Price, was it? I don't know.
He was involved in the play. I'll give you half credit. He was involved in the play, but he wasn't the one that made the basket.
Yeah, he made the pass I think to this guy, but I can't think of his name. Damn it. I'm looking right at him, but I can't think of his name.
It was Craig Elo. Remember, he was the inbounds passer, gave it to Price, and then Price gave it back to Elo, scored the basket with 3 seconds to go. Of course, Jordan made the last shot of that game. I'll never forget this as long as I live. Hubert Brown, you could tell a coach that's an analyst on TV. They're really coaching through the TV set. I remember him saying at the time, when you are the inbounds pass, especially in late game situations like that, beware of the inbounds passer. I'll give another quick example. I believe it was game 4. If it was not game 4, game 5, someone probably correct me in the chat. I believe it was game 4 of the 2005 NBA Finals. Robert Horry, remember, he hit the game winner at the Palace against the Pistons. Who was the inbounds passer? Robert Horry. He gave it to Ginobili. Ginobili was trapped up in the left corner. Ginobili saw Robert Horry right open. Robert Horry, big shot. Bob hits a eventual game winner. I believe it was game 5. I believe that was. The Spurs ended up winning that game. Of course, they won the series at home in 7 games. And Hubert Brown said at the time, beware of the inbounds passer. The inbounds passer in late game situations. It was just another example. OG Anunoby pulling up to Wednesday's game. Who's the inbounds passer? OG Anunoby. And Jalen Brunson, even though some people say it was a bad shot, I got why he did that, because 4 seconds to go, he was double teamed. He put up the shot with like 3 seconds left, which gave the Knicks a chance to grab an offensive rebound. Who came in flying out of nowhere? Who the inbounds passer? OG Anunoby had a clear path to the basket, timed his jump in the tip just perfectly, knocked it in for the eventual game winner, and the Knicks executed down the stretch. So for you young folks watching at home in late game situations, a winning shot. I'm just telling you, we've seen that through history. We saw it again the other night. And I blame Mitch Johnson for not guarding OG Anunoby on the inbounds pass. He had a clear path to make that pass to Brunson on the inbounds pass.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those things where you wonder, like, why wasn't somebody there to guard him and also to box him out? So that part of it was really what what made you scratch your head there. And look, that's been a rule since the beginning of time, even before all that. I've seen it multiple times in NCAA tournaments in college too. You don't guard the inbounds passer. They say that all the time. I know some teams don't do that. Some teams do. We've seen some cases that it doesn't work. So I think, why wasn't somebody there to block out OG Anunoby? I don't know. I'm sure someone's they're gonna be arguing about that. But look, you gotta, like I said, you gotta get that game out of your mind if you're the Spurs, and try to see if you can maybe just get better execution and have play better defense. Don't do stupid stuff to keep the Knicks in it. It's gonna be, and we'll talk about the Rays in a second here, because the Rays were huge. It got bigger as the game went on, as the game got closer. So, but yeah, this for tomorrow night. I mean, I think this, like I said, I think you gotta jump on the Spurs early, play better defense to see if you can, perhaps maybe do what you couldn't do, or refuse to do, depending on how you look at it on Wednesday.
For the San Antonio Spurs, I'm with you. Their bench has been non-existent outside of Dylan Harper in this series. And as we say all the time, especially in sports, in particular in basketball, when you're playing at home, your role players play better because they want to impress the fans. They want to impress their teammates. They want to do something big to be remembered by. Now, you're trailing 3-1. Your back's against the wall. Every game from here on out, when you win, it's going to be the biggest game until you're potentially eliminated. So the San Antonio Spurs, they got out to that nice start on Wednesday. They just couldn't sustain it in the second half. They got to stop, like you said, with the mental mistakes. In particular, we talked about with the OG Anunoby play. You didn't guard him on the inbounds pass, and you unboxed him out, which gave him a clear path to the basket. But stop with the mental mistakes. Stop with the dumb fouls. You can't get into a physical battle with the Spurs. With the Knicks, rather. You're going to lose that every time. You lost that battle the other night with the dumb flagrant fouls. And find a way to get the ball to Victor Wembanyama in the post, especially late. They tried to do that, but the Knicks defense was very fun. You got to find creative ways to get Wembanyama the ball in the post. Establish that early, and then establish that again within the late stages of the game. If you do those three things, you'll win Game 5 and force a Game 6 back at MSG next Tuesday.
Now, when we come back on Monday, do you think we will be previewing a Game 6, or will we be talking about the Knicks' first NBA title in 53 years?
I don't think that the good folks in the tri-state area are ready to clean up Times Square just yet. I don't think they want to see that place trashed on a Saturday night. So I think the Spurs win and win big tomorrow night, and we'll be previewing Game 6 on our next show on Monday. You know, I had the Spurs win this series in 7. Well, in 6, actually, I'll have to win it in 7 now. So I expect the Spurs to win and win big tomorrow night. We'll be previewing the Game 6 on Monday, coming on the next show on Monday.
I agree, and also I don't think ABC wants it either. But let's be honest here. Now the Rays so far have been really solid. I know Game 3. Now they haven't came out with Game 4's ratings just yet, but Game 3, 23.8 million viewers. That's the most since the '98 finals between, of course, the Bulls and the Jazz. The audience there peaked at 26.3 at 11:15, 10:15 Chicago time. I can only imagine the Rays be even higher once those ratings come out. I'm sure they're going to come out. I'm sure tonight, since Game 5 is until tomorrow night. So I'm guessing that those ratings will come out. But yeah, I think if you're ABC, I mean, you can watch Game 5 tomorrow on ABC at 7:30. Of course, Inside the NBA will have both your pre and post game coverage. But Sid, what do you think the ratings will be for? I'm sure the rates will probably be even higher for maybe this game, since it's going to be could be a clinching series game for the Knicks. So, what do you think the ratings? How do you think? Well, first of all, how do you think the ratings? What do you think about the ratings so far? And also, do you think the ratings will be even bigger?
Well, I think the ratings will be even bigger. I'll take it the second question first. I think the ratings will be even bigger because the New York. I know they're getting a lot of love around the country. At least it appears that way, because they haven't won since 1973. So, and they're leading 3-1. So I know most people will. If you don't have a favorite team in this, or you're rooting for the underdog, that's just a nature in life and a nature in sports. So it's definitely going to be one of the most watched Game 5s of all time, probably since that '98 Bulls Jazz Game 5. Remember, Jordan missed that miracle shot. Of course, it went back to Utah for Game 6. We don't know what happened after that. But, Game 4's ratings, I know it's going to be big because of the Knicks' historic comeback. But like I said, Game 5 is going to be one for epic proportions in terms of race. But I think if it gets out of hand early and the Knicks don't have – maybe fans will stay with it for a little bit because we saw the Knicks come back for 29 points down. But if you get that feeling that the Spurs are just going to stop on the next, I think the people will turn up. But I think to start the game, a lot of people are going to tune in. First, to see if the Knicks can finish this thing off. And number 2, to see if San Antonio can actually play 4 quarters this time. So there's a lot of epic proportions with that. So I think for the outset, and honestly, I think it's going to depend how this game finishes too. If we get to close to anything that happened on Wednesday in terms of a classic finish, I think it's going to be one of the best, if not the best, highest Game 5 rated NBA Finals ratings of all time. It has that potential, especially if the Knicks win.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some big numbers here and also it's a Saturday too, so you don't have to worry about the school's out. You have to worry about kids, wanting to go to bed. Kids making them go to bed. The school's out for a lot of kids now, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens tomorrow. We'll of course keep you guys, of course, going to be here to talk about it. Whether it is the Knicks winning their first title in 53 years, or we're previewing Game 6. So back at MSG. Listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown with you. Now let's start. Okay, we'll do some more NBA. We'll start with this first. Of course, the Giannis trade rumors, are running rampant. Apparently, there is a trade. There is a legitimate toss between the Bucks and the Celtics, involving Jaylen Brown and Giannis, but now there's also word that the Bucks might trade Brown if he does get traded there. Yeah, they'll probably trade him for younger players and draft picks if he was going to be involved in a trade with Giannis. So what do you think about all this?
You gotta love the NBA. They're right behind the NFL as being a 12-month sport. But we all know that we said this throughout the last couple of years that Giannis has been suffering through major injuries. That this Bucks team and this franchise needs a reset. They paired him up with Damian Lillard. Both of them got hurt. That didn't work. You tried to have a reasonable supporting cast. It didn't work. So that Bucks franchise needs a reset. Now, on the flip side for Boston, I know Jaylen Brown had a season of his life because Jason Tatum was out for the majority of it. Of course, Jaylen Brown, got all in his feelings on Instagram after they lost a heartbreaker to the Philadelphia 76ers to eliminate themselves from the playoffs. But as far as the regular season is concerned, Jaylen Brown had a nice regular season, but him and Jason Tatum both got paid within the last 2 years. I know that the NBA doesn't have a quote-unquote hard salary cap like the NHL does, but it's very close to what the NHL has. And keeping two guys on your roster making that ton of money, that's going to be difficult going forward. So this is more about economics too, apparently, for the Boston Celtics. So Milwaukee, I think it depends on what they get back from Boston. If it suits to what the Bucks want to do, I think you'll pull out that trade. But obviously, if you're Milwaukee, you like to scoop out the landscape just a little bit more, because I think a couple other teams may be knocking at the door, like maybe Miami, Pat Riley. He's lurking around somewhere like you always do. He's lurking around somewhere. Maybe the New York Knicks, heaven forbid they lose this series. If you're a Knicks fan, maybe they'll get in the mix. I know they were in the mix last year after they lost in the conference finals to the Indiana Pacers. Maybe I'm not going to sit here and say that Indiana Pacers are involved. We don't know that to be true, but maybe a team like that could be lurking in the shadows. You just don't know. So this thing is far from over. It's not in the bank that Giannis goes to Boston. Could he help the Celtics? Oh, of course he can, but this thing is far from over. In Milwaukee, which I think they will do, they'll take their time with this and they'll look at all suitors to see which team gives them the best deal.
Going to be very interesting to see if they do trade. Yeah, well, I think they will trade Giannis, but yeah, where they're going to go. I know, like I said, I heard Miami too. I've heard a couple of Western Conference teams. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out too, and the economics. I'm sure Brown is on the trading block. It looks like. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. Now going to the Bulls. The Bulls are, it looks like by all accounts, by all the reports, are narrowing down their coaching search, according to our buddy, our friend of the show from CHS said, of course, a longtime Tribune Bulls writer, Mr. Casey Johnson. The names are down to the final four. No, not final four, but the final four names of the Bulls head coaching search, among others who, former interim Blazers coach Thiago Splitter, Micah Nori for the T-Wolves, Ryan Schmidt. Yes, the former Illini Ryan Schmidt. I kind of had to think about that for a second. Wait, that name's also good because he played with D Brown and them over at Illinois back in the early aughts, in the mid aughts, I should say. And also Wes, who's the assistant for the Hawks, and Quinn Snyder, who just got a new contract extension. But also Wes Unseld Jr. I'm gonna leave that one alone. But what do you think? What do you think about those 4 days? Who do you think is gonna be? And according to Brian Windhorst and a few others, looks like they are close to naming their guy.
Just maybe, LaKeena, just if you're the Bulls PR, just maybe you'll name your head coach the same on draft day, the same with that number 4 pick. Here's your number 4 pick. Oh, by the way, here's your new head coach. Wouldn't that be so Chicago? Excuse me. Wouldn't that be so Chicago? You name your new head coach on the day of the NBA draft. Here's the thing. I said this throughout this process. Whoever this new head coach is, do you really think that head coach is going to get a major say in who's going to be one of those two first round draft picks? I don't think so. Whoever's going to be the new head coach, they're going to have to agree with Bryce and Graham. Who's going to be the two first round picks? Because I don't think that new head coach is going to get a say, because as Bryce and Graham told us a little bit over a month and a half ago, that they're starting over and they want to set the culture. And if it was an experienced coach, I think it would be a whole lot more debate as far as who the Bulls should take with that number 4 pick and with that number, I believe, 12 or 13 pick as well. So with this new head coach, I don't think he's going to get much say on who he thinks the Bulls should draft. He's just got to go along with the program.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with what our buddy Scott Lewis said from the Barbershop Network, who we had on the show last Friday about this time. I think he said the same thing. I thought this too. Like, this coach, whoever it is only going to be here for maybe 2 or 3 years until the Bulls are ready to contend. I don't think they're going to be around for when they do start actually contending. So this guy is just I don't want to say he'll be a placeholder, but he kind of is going to be a placeholder. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
And also, too, I know the Bulls have $66 million under the cap this summer. Of course, they're not going to spend all of it, and rightfully so, because you're rebuilding. But you still have Matas, you still have Matas, and you still have Josh Giddey. Will one of those guys be gone by the time next season starts? If so, you really turning over a leaf. But we'll see what happens with these 2 first-round picks. I know we'll talk about it as we get closer to the draft, but this Bulls franchise has been stuck in the middle for so long. As our good friend Jonathan Hood would say, you're in NBA hell. So, you're starting over. We'll see what type of culture that Bryce and Graham and the rest of his staff sets for this organization. And we'll just have to, the Bulls fans just have to be patient for another at least 2 or 3 more years. I know it's hard to do, especially in today's climate of the NBA, but that's what was about to happen here with your Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, look, Bulls fans have been wanting this rebuild for the last decade. Now you're gonna get it. Let's test Bulls fans' patience to see if they can be patient enough for these next 2, 3, perhaps maybe 4 years. So we'll see what happens here. Now, our sports potpourri segment is coming up next. First off, the Stanley Cup Final, as the Hurricanes win a pivotal Game 5, and they may have a new star goalie. We'll talk about that. He made some big saves yesterday. Also, your World Cup update as the U.S. men begins their group play later tonight. We'll talk about that. Some sports media news, as a veteran Chicago sportscaster announces a career change. And, of course, a big anniversary for Bulls fans. Speed with the Bulls, a big anniversary as the start of the dynasty anniversary. We'll talk about that and so much more in other sports media news as well. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown. Oh, he's over here. Second City Sports on Sports Chicago Sports Potpourri Summit coming up right after this. Mirrors here.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Chi. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch. And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch. You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops. Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGetty, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports of the hashtag Friday Funk Edition. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. See, the kid is me, LaKeena McGee is she. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, that's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
This is our sports potpourri segment, our last break of the show for today and for the week. So if you have any last-minute questions or comments for us on any of the topics we've discussed thus far in today's show, NBA Finals, Cubs, White Sox, World Cup coming up, and a whole lot more, you can definitely hit us up, not now, but right now, at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up and swing for you.
Just when you thought that this whole Bears Stadium saga is over and done with, like we warned you guys, this was not gonna be the end of this. Paris Schultz, who does a great job through this whole stadium, whatever you want to call it. He's been over at NBC as for Chicago. Also, he does NBC5. He actually was our buddy Kaplan Hood with our buddy Jay Hood, and then also David Kaplan. He was on there earlier this morning saying that the Bears have yet to even apply for permits, do anything in Hammond, and are just now learning that they can't touch the protected areas until 2050. This is what Paris said, and. Just sounds very. Really feel all these people that were saying, "Oh, I'm not going to Hammond, or I'm not going there, or I'm not going this." Well, you look silly for jumping the gun now, folks.
Excuse my French to the folks that are under 18 that's going to listen to this phrase. Hot damn it! You can't make this shit up. I told you, LaKeena, once we said this a couple months ago by Hammond. How are you going to proclaim an area that you haven't fully scouted yet? And you said that they can't touch that area until 2050. Hopefully, so. But they're going to Hammond. As Chicago's lost, the Bears are losing there. Lewis said this here last week. Is a ploy to get the state of Illinois to pay for this stadium because the Bears are broke. They can't pay up the money. They want us, the citizens of the state of Illinois, to pay for the stadium. They don't have no money to pay for it on their own. They use Hammond as a ploy. And how, as we said it back a couple months ago, we said it last week. We'll say it here. Go investigate an area that have you fully even scouted yet. It makes no sense. It makes no sense business wise. It just makes no sense. Period. So, like you said, to all the people who jumped the gun, I ain't going to him. The Bears were never going to have it. You guys weren't going there either. So just stop it, folks. Just stop it for everyone involved. You can't make this shit up, people. You can't.
It's just hilarious that all these people. Oh well, I'm not going to like that. It's the ghetto part of Northwest Indiana. Again, these are those words, not mine. I can bring up all the screens of all the tweets. I'm sure a lot of those folks are starting to kind of like once they saw this. I'm sure they're all starting to delete those stupid posts that they made over the last.
Started walking back. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So now everyone looks pretty stupid. So.
But in all seriousness, though, LaKeena, some of y'all are going out there because of the Harris casino, even though the state of Indiana gets that money, not Chicago. But that's a whole nother issue. But going back to Bears, LaKeena, who has the bigger egg on their face? Once again, Kevin Warren, followed by your owner, George McCaskey. Yes, you can blame Governor Pritzker and everybody else involved, but it starts at the top with this Bears organization with Kevin Warren at the head. In terms of the reason why he was brought here is to get the Bears a new stadium, which he's failed to do by this point. And George McCaskey, he's the other one that has to take the fall because he's the owner of the team. And he was the one who hired Kevin Warren to begin with.
If you're Governor Pritzker and the rest of the Illinois politics, you're probably like, aha. So you're like, okay, no special. Yeah, like he's probably gonna say it too, very subtly. He's not, he's very direct, but he knows how to be very subtle. That's the Illinois snark. That's all of us here in Illinois have that. But no matter what your politics, but he'll probably say, "Oh, okay, hey, I'm here to talk if you guys are ready." Well, I'm sure he'll probably say that. So, there may be a special session coming up later this summer. We'll see. But it's just too funny. As the Bears wrap up mandatory mini camps and such. Some big news. We'll do a little bit more NFL here, but did you see the Seahawks' new Super Bowl 60 rings, Sid? They came out last night. They
Not yet.
Well, no, you should take a look at it. I'll go through the NFL and also the Seahawks Twitter feed. I'll send it to you and our girl Christine Manica. But it has diamonds, sapphires, the team mantras, and also the three special features. I think one of them is like the Seattle, and also the other like crusted diamonds and sapphires. So probably one of the bigger. They have the number 12, of course, the 12 men flag button. That's one of the features, and also it also has like a little mechanism there where you can kind of like it actually glows when you press it. So they definitely these were designed by Tiffany and Company, of course. So so they're going to be getting them in their home opener in week 1. So they're going to get some new ice over there up there in Seattle.
And it's going to be showing it off to his new teammates, bringing it back here to Chicago. New safety Kobe Bryant, who's of course he was signed as a free agent from Seattle to the Bears early in the offseason. I know he's going to use that as motivation and to tell the rest of his now new teammates with the Bears, if you want one of these, you got to work your ass off for it. So, it looks nice, but you got to earn it. So I think there'll be more than enough motivation, not just for him, but for his teammates in the secondary.
Yeah, that's why he was not there for that final day of mandatory minicamp. Of course, with a good reason. He had to go get his championship ring now. Broncos and head coach Sean Payton have agreed to a new contract, and it's from 2030. They're not showing disclosure. I'll try to see if I can get the new contract numbers here, but it is going to be until 2030. It's going to be very. Let me see. It actually is. He replaced the original deal that he signed back in 2023 to become their head coach. So it's going to be a lot of subsidies and stuff like that. So it actually will get the salary cap, kind of like right there to give them financial flexibility. So Peyton gets a new deal with the Broncos.
Yeah, congratulations to him on that new deal. Of course, the Broncos were on the cusp of reaching the Super Bowl last year. Of course, their lone playoff victory against the Buffalo, their lone home playoff victory, I should say, against the Buffalo Bills came at a cause you lost your franchise quarterback, Bo Nix, for the rest of that playoff run, which was terrible. But, Sean Payton and the rest of that front office staff of the Broncos had a lot of work to do. You got rid of Russell Wilson. You drafted Bo Nix. It turns out that he's a gem for that organization thus far. You know, they picked up some key free agents. You still have Patrick Surtain, one of the best defensive backs in the game. And let's be real here, LaKeena, looking at a broader picture in the AFC, if Denver can stay healthy, they could be back in that same position again, perhaps maybe representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. Look at that division. You still have the Los Angeles Chargers with Coach Jim Harbaugh. He's turned that program around, but they have not won a playoff game. The Las Vegas Raiders, they're rebuilding. And, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs, as of right now, they're going to start the year without Patrick Mahomes. They always having salary cap issues. I know that Mahomes just got his contract restructured again. So while Kansas City's down and the Chargers still trying to figure out how to win a playoff game, you're going to be the favorite now, despite what happened last year, losing at home to New England in that championship game. You're still going to be the favorite to win the AFC West. Can you take advantage of it?
Yeah, that's going to be the million-dollar question. Speaking of that new rework contract, it adds 2 years, 2 years to that contract, which brings that value to over $500 million, $504.75 million to be exact. And you're keeping it with the franchise through 2033. You get $63 million annual salary, $150 million, just a little over $150 million guaranteed. With $397 million in practical guarantees. It runs to 2033, which means that Mahomes will be 38 years old by then. I don't know if this will mean that they can't make any moves. We'll have to wait and see there. But Sid, what do you think about this new contract? Well, this new rework to the old contract for Mahomes.
Yeah, they're trying to manipulate around the salary cap. We knew it was going to happen when you got the original deal a few years ago. But some of the, as we talked about before, some of his core mates are starting to come to an end as far as their career. Travis Kelce, I know he just got a new deal, but we all know that he's at the end of the line. Chris Jones, they're the stud defensive tackle. He's at the end of the line as well. You know, you got a fresh cash a couple years ago. So some of your core players are near the end only because of age, and they got to replenish their roster constantly with cheap free agents, and they got to start hitting on their draft picks. So we'll see what this Kansas City franchise is made of come up here in the next couple years.
It's going to be very interesting to see what he does and when he does come back. As you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, LaKeena McGee Sidney Brown with you. Now it's time to do that hockey as the Canes get a pivotal game win against the Knights 4-2. And, Andrei Shekhanov had a power play goal. Jordan Stahl scored another goal, which is 8th goal of the playoffs. That's the most of his career. But the real story here was Brandon Buss, who gets a second straight start. He had a couple of pivotal saves. He had 23 saves. He's actually the first ever goalie in NHL history to make his first 2 playoff career starts in the Stanley Cup and win both games. So at least so far, he's been standing on his head for the most part. He's been the player of the game. He was a player of the game last night. So if you're Vegas, you get to come back home for Game 6, and this is a must-win, because if not, you're going to be the Hurricanes are going to be you don't want the Hurricanes celebrating your home ice. So hopefully that gives the Knights some motivation, because they left a lot of goals on the board last night. I mean.
Shout out to head coach Rob Brind'Amour, your guy from the Carolina Hurricanes, for making that move for before Game 4, for bringing in Russ to start that game. As we talked about on the show last Monday, Frederick Anderson struggled there. He had let in a couple of bad goals, including the fluky one in that second overtime. Brind'Amour said, "Hey, Russ did look good enough for me to start. I know he came in late in Game 3, but besides that." Besides that fluky goal that ended it last Saturday night in Game 3 in that classic double overtime game, Russ looked good in spots. I'll give him a start in Game 4. His teammates backed him up, putting up a 5-piece in Game 4 at Vegas. And, of course, you mentioned last night, from the second period on, the Hurricanes were the better team. Now, coming into last night's game, as we talked about here on the show all the time, one of the elements to winning the Stanley Cup, you got to have great special teams, both in the penalty kill and on the power play. The Carolina Hurricanes, going into last night's game, scored a power play goal in their last 4 consecutive games. With 2 of 5 on the power play last night, make that 5 consecutive games. So the Canes special teams, especially with their power play man advantage, has been on fire. And also, too, last night, LaKeena, the physicality went up as well as far as the Hurricanes concerned, especially after the first period. Overall, the Hurricanes had a +2 advantage in the hits department at 34-32. And with the block shots, Vegas had a +6 advantage at 18-12. But I thought that the way the tempo of the game went, especially what the Carolina Panthers, I said the Panthers, damn it, what the Hurricanes did to close out game 4 the other night in Vegas. They carried that momentum, got out to a slow start once again, but they fired back in terms of scoring to end that first period. But from the second period on, the way that tone was set for the rest of the game, it was all Carolina, and they earned that game 4 victory. Game 5 victory, I should say.
Yeah, and I think that's really going to be the key if you're the Vegas. You want to see if you can, get in the crowd to feed off the crowd because you know that place is going to be rocking. Now, you do have a little bit of history on your side, though. 18 times that teams have come back from 3-2 to win. Of course, the last team to do it was back in 19 when St. Louis did against Boston. So it can be done. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But the Golden Knights, I mean, they gotta get their guys to step up here. Jack Eichel, he's got to do a little bit more. Pavel Dorofiev, he has to do a little bit more. Carter Hart, I mean, he had to let a couple of fluky goals get past him. So I think he definitely needs to do the old stand on his head performance that goalies have, and it's perfectly pivotal in these Stanley Cup Final games. So he definitely really needs to have a good one here tomorrow because Sunday, I should say, at least they'll have an extra day to get ready here. Mm-hmm. But it'll be interesting to see if he definitely needs to have one of those type of performances if they want to if the Vegas wants to force a game 7.
Yeah, you cannot let any soft goals in. If you do, you're going to get pulled. And for Vegas, the game 6 is like their game 7. So you got to be on your P's and Q's. You set the tone early, especially with the physicality. You got to get into the corners, play chip away, dump and chase a little bit with this Carolina team because Carolina, they're very good defensively. And if you're not meeting them where they're at, especially physically, it's going to be a long night for you. It's been an exciting series so far. A little bit more scoring than we thought there was going to occur between these two teams, but it's been a very exciting series to watch thus far.
Yeah, and I think the ratings have actually been pretty solid too on ABC, so I think that's helped a lot as well. I do think though that Vegas, look, they know how to do this. They know how to. They got a lot of those players there from when they won their first cup. So I think they will force a game 7. I just don't see them having the Hurricanes win on their home ice. I just don't see that happening. So I think they will do just enough to win this game on Sunday and force a game 7.
I had Carolina in 7, so my pick is right on track.
Yeah, I have Vegas in 7, so yeah, so I need them to win tonight to make sure they stay on track. Of course, you can watch Game 6 Sunday night on ABC.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. See LaKeena here, kicking it with you. We still have a few minutes left on this sports potpourri segment, our last break of the show for today and for the week. So if you have any last minute questions or comments, you can definitely hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. LaKeena, the World Cup kicked off yesterday. I know the United States will play tonight. Have you been watching clips or been attempted to watch full games? If so, what are your thoughts? Even though we are, as of this live broadcast, a day and a half into it.
Yeah, Mexico beat South Africa 2-0 last night. Julian Quiñones hit the first goal of the World Cup. So for those of you who are going to do the whole thing about the trivia stuff, we'll get to that. That's Group A action as well. And Korea in I don't want to say upset, but I guess some people will say that beating Chechnya last night to get the win in that group. So going to be very interesting to see what happens in that group. Now, the U.S., well, for one thing, Canada, they're about to kick off their first pool play match in Group B as they face Bosnia. The U.S., they kick things off tonight. That'll be out in SoFi Stadium where the Rams and the Chargers play. In Inglewood. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here. I know there's a lot expected for the United States, especially since the group that they're in isn't the most. I don't want to say it's Group D is not the most competitive group. Like we talked about the last few shows here. You got Paraguay, you got Australia, you got Turkey. So it is there for the U.S., but they got to get the goalie play. Hopefully, they got a goalie here that can. I don't know who's going to get the start of that. They haven't said it yet, but you just to see what they do here. Chris Pulisic and also Wes McKay, I should say, and that's still really going to be the key for the U.S. So they got to get those guys going as well, especially Pulisic. So I'm looking forward to see what happens. I know that crowd is going to be rocking out there at SoFi Stadium. I know our buddy Michael Duarte out there who works for California Sports. I know he's been traveling with the U.S. men. I know he's going to be right there in SoFi Stadium as the crowd's going to be rocking. So it should be a good match and a good showing for the United States. But it's also going to be on Fox too, so I'm sure it's going to get good ratings.
Speaking of Fox, following tonight's USA contest against Paraguay, they'll follow up with a triple header tomorrow. Like you said, LaKeena, no Fox Saturday baseball this week because of the World Cup. Qatar versus Switzerland tomorrow at 2, followed by Brazil or Morocco at 5 o'clock, and then Haiti versus Scotland for your nightcap. Those games can be seen here in America on Fox. Your schedule for Sunday looks like this: Turkey versus Australia, Germany and Morocco, Netherlands versus Japan.
Curacao,
okay. Curacao, thank you. Versus Germany, Netherlands versus Japan, Ivory Coast versus Ecuador, and then Sweden versus Tunisia.
Yeah, all these games are going to be on Fox. FS1 for the Australia-Turkey game tomorrow night, and also the Sweden-Tunisia game, and also be streaming on Peacock as well. And also it's going to be on Tubi. All the matches will be on Tubi. So for all of you who don't want to pay, who don't want to pay for Peacock, Tubi's free, folks. You can watch the World Cup matches there as well on whatever device you got, your computer, on your phone, your smartphone. So you'll be able to watch the World Cup somewhere.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. See LaKeena here kicking it with you before we get to our special anniversary career change, and one is definitely needed, and one that came into surprise to some, but once you hear this news, it'll all make all the sense in the world.
Yeah, Ryan Baker, who is a veteran over at CBS Chicago. He's been there for, I think, just about 20 years, just a little over 20 years. And of course, yeah, he did the news for a few years, went back to sports. He was doing sports for the first few years he was there. Of course, he went back to doing sports after a stint, doing news. And he's been all over Chicago. He worked with WMAQ for a little bit when he first came here. Of course, he came to CBS Chicago. He's hosted Sports Sunday, Game Day Live, Bears Game Day Live, Game Night Live. He's covered the World Series wins by both the Cubs and the White Sox. He's covered all three the Stanley Cups from the 2010s, and also has reported for Athens in the Summer Olympics back in 2004. Now, what is he going to do instead? Well, he'll be the new president and CEO of the First Tee Greater Chicago, which is an organization focusing on mentoring young people and teaching life skills through golf. Remember, he's a big golf guy. He hosts a golf show on both Fox and WMAQ, and as well as also on Fox Chicago. NBC Chicago. Well, CBS Chicago as well. Easy for me to say. He's a big golf guy. I know he's always said that he's wanted to make golf more accessible to inner city kids. He grew up in Phoenix, Illinois. He's a graduate of the University of Illinois Champaign. He's he's a very well respected guy in sports, and I think this is a big career change. This is a good career change for him. So we wish him nothing but the best. And it seems like it seems like this is always the kind of thing where you want to be able to say, hey, you know what, I've made a career change. This has nothing to do with anything else, but he just wants to do this and help out the young people. So you got to commend him for that.
And also too, he's doing it it seems like he's doing this on his own terms as well, because you definitely don't get a proper send off, especially in this business. So we're chasing down passion, doing what we do. He's got a chance to do both. Of course, with covering sports in this town for for over 2 decades, and he's doing his other passion as well, giving back to the community. So, good things comes to those who work hard, committed, and work their butts off. And so, congratulations to him. I'm going to miss him selfishly on television, but he's doing a bigger and greater thing, helping out our young people. And we should take all lessons to do what we can to help out the next generation.
And not to say we don't play favorites here, but we kind of do. Hopefully, our buddy Matt Zahn, of course, we had on the show more than a few times. Hopefully he'll be in there in the running to be the new main sports anchor over there and reporter, whoever it ends up being. Hopefully, as we've seen with some of the other people we've had from the various networks here in Chicago, social media has been a big thing. So hopefully, maybe whoever, whether it's Matt or or anyone else, I think hopefully they'll get that going, because I think they really need to beef up their social media presence. I'm talking about CBS Chicago does.
Yeah, yes, indeed. We'll see what happens with the CBS Chicago Sports Department going forward. All right, you're listening to Second City Sports Zone, Sports Zone Chicago. See you, LaKeena, here with you. Today, LaKeena, June 12th, 2026, 35 years ago, in the Chicago Bulls in the Los Angeles Lakers. Of course, we all know the history of this. It was the 25th anniversary of the Chicago Bulls, the silver season. Of course, for the NBA Finals, the Bulls lost game 1 by 2 thanks to Sam Perkins' game winner with 23 seconds left to go in that contest. But the Bulls won the rest of the games in that series, winning 4 straight, including game 5. Of course, John Paxson had the game of his life, 26 points, was named the player of the game. Scottie Pippen led all scores with 32. On the flip side for the Lakers, Magic Johnson, of course, it'll be his last game for that time period because of his HIV status. We will learn a few months later. But James Worthy, Byron Scott were both out for the Los Angeles Lakers. But the rest of that staff, including 2 young players that both of them were rookies, stepped up and had great games. Both of them had great careers in the NBA. LeRon Ellis, Tony Smith, and of course the late great Eldon Campbell both stepped in and played well. It was a tight back and forth contest. And of course, the Bulls pulled away in the fourth to win their first of 6 championships in the 90s. And of course, we're going to tie this into, of course, the late great Stacey King. He did not play in this game at all, but he played in that game 2 blowout of that series against the Lakers, 107-86. Of course, Stacey King, for those of you that have been living on a rock, passed away a few days ago at the age of 59. Of course, if you guys haven't seen it yet, go to the Chicago Bulls official YouTube page or go to their other social media outlets where they have they posted a 4.5-minute tribute video to the late great Stacey King. Of course, it took you through a time capsule for where he got drafted until through the first 3 championships of this franchise that he was a part of. Of course, his biggest impact was when he became a commentator in 2006-07 season. It was a beautiful tribute, LaKeena. 2 thumbs up to the whole Chicago Bulls social media team. It was very well put together.
Yeah, and I think from what I've read, that one of his 3 sons, I think one of them is in the business, is in the editing business. So I think he played a big part in putting together that video. So very well done by him and the rest of that group. So yeah, just to tie it all in, I mean, that started the dynasty for the Bulls. Of course, Paxson shot the go-ahead 3 that would end up ultimately beating the Lakers. I know some people will say that the Lakers were old and a couple of their guys didn't play because of injuries and stuff, so they kind of backed into that title. We'll probably never know what would have happened had the 2 guys you mentioned had they played. But it's sort of one of those things where you're kind of like this. When the last time you saw Magic in the competitive play, of course we would play in the Olympics. Of course, we'll also play in the All-Star game earlier that summer. But it's going to be interesting to see what would have happened had that not happened. So the Bulls, it was sort of their the first 3-peat that started that whole dynasty. So and if you go back and watch the Learn to Fly videos that was about those early 90s,
yes.
You saw the behind the scenes of some of that. Stacey King, I don't know, I forgot what he said verbatim, but he said something about like this is a big show.
This is Dreams verbatim right here.
Yep. So
that's the clock was ticking down.
Yeah, that's how it's all kind of tied into what happened after that. So yeah, that kind of started with that one. But yeah, so this sort of like started like the big thing here. Of course, there was also the second, well, the wrap of the first year of the NBA on NBC. So that kind of started that whole thing too. So yeah, I think this was definitely one of those games where I think people say out of all the championships, I think some people will like this one, not only because it was the first one in franchise history, but also the way it happened. So yeah, this was definitely a big piece of childhood history that's still remembered to this day.
Yeah, as I tell people all the time, I said this on this show before, and I'll say it again. The Larry, I was going to say Larry. Well, the Michael Jordan Magic Johnson matchup, it was the superstar matchup coming into the series. Because remember, in Game 2, Bulls head coach Phil Jackson switched Scottie Pippen to guard Magic Johnson. Magic still had a good series, but he wasn't as effective as he was when Michael Jordan was guarding him in Game 1. Speaking of Magic Johnson, he still had 20 assists in Game 5, but it wasn't enough. Of course, the Lakers led 93-90. Of course, you mentioned John Paxson went off scoring 10 points in that fourth quarter, ended up with 26 for the game as the Bulls would win their first title. As I said this is what I wanted to get to. I say this to people all the time. While then Larry, damn it, I almost said it again. While the Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan matchup was cool. What I remember most about that first history nut. The main thing that I remember about that Bulls first championship is the way that they finally conquered Detroit and they swept their bad boy asses out of the playoffs. And as the great Horace Grant once said in that Last Dance documentary regarding the Detroit Pistons, straight up bitches. And that's what they acted like after the Bulls swept on that faithful Memorial Day in May of 1991. So what I remember most about that first championship, of course, Michael Jordan crying and all that, but sweeping away the Detroit Pistons on the way to that first title. So, it was a great day for Bulls fans and for Chicago sports fans as well.
And of course, you can watch the full game on YouTube as well. So it's right there for if you want to relive those memories. And so as we salute the 91 first NBA title for Chicago Bulls, first of the sixth mini dynasty, if you will. So you guys can check that out on YouTube. With that said, you can follow me at LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, again the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sidney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG is CK80. Once again, that's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Be sure to download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow on all Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms like Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much, advance, for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And if you miss highlights or when we do our NFL picks, in season, or if you miss our interview with the guests, no worries. You can catch the replays anytime, anywhere on Sports Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. You can catch replays of our show, Sean's Hero Sports, the Smoke Fellas, and so much of our other great content. You can catch it all right here anytime on Sports Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
All right, so enjoy the baseball, enjoy the Stanley Cup Final and the NBA Finals. We might be celebrating a couple of champions after the week is out. After the weekend, we'll see. We'll give you guys an update on that. World Cup, of course, go to the United States and all the rest of the nation as North America hosts the World Cup. As that continues, you'll get into full swing. Also, you got baseball, college baseball, the men's college World Series going on right now in Omaha. So if you guys are into college baseball, you guys can check that out this weekend on the ESPN family of networks. And also shout out to the NCAA men's and women's track teams. We got a couple of world records already shattered on both the men's hurdles and the women's 4x1 relay. So we might see some more records shattered this weekend. We'll talk. You guys check that out on the ESPN network as well. So a busy sports calendar year this time of year. So enjoy all that. For us, I'm LaKeena. Be safe out there. This is Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. We'll see you guys on Monday.
For those of you going to game 2 between the White Sox and the Dodgers tomorrow, I will see you in La B. B as in boy at high noon. Go Sox. Holla.